Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Tony and Sarah Unscripted. I was going to introduce our guest today, but I think Sarah should do it. She has a little bit more of a connection with this wonderful human. So, Sarah, take it away.
Thank you, Tony. Welcome, everyone. Tony and Sarah Unscripted. Excited for our episode today that I have with my husband, Joe. And today happens to be our anniversary.
Yay, anniversary.
Yay. So 26 years married today. It's a long time, but we're still together.
Yes.
No, just stay back.
And they're smiling. And
he needs
let him do what he wants with the
I
mic,
won't do
okay?
He needs a lot of direction.
Yes.
This is
Anyway,
good, yeah.
so thank you for being here, Joe.
You're welcome, Boo.
So, Joe, we're going to go easy on you, I promise.
Oh, that's
because you're a
fine.
cool guy.
I'm good.
But we often talk about how, things can happen in our lives so suddenly that really shifts our journey. And I was just wondering, and maybe you can talk a little bit about if that's ever happened and what really sticks out for you.
Well, that would be Cameron
Mm-hmm.
and his transition. I mean, we've had a lot of issues prior to that, but it seemed to have all culminated into that transitioning. So by far, that has been the biggest thing that has hit me.
When Cameron came out, how much did you know about the trans community?
None.
Nothing.
I mean, very, very little. Probably Caitlyn Jenner, Bruce
Right.
Jenner thing. That was probably my extent. There was no reason for me to.
Yeah.
So I
That's a good
didn't
point.
need.
I remember watching, because I was so into watching I Am Jazz.
Yeah.
And I hated it.
And he hated it. But I
Hated
remember
it.
Cameron started watching it with me. And I remember Joe saying to me, should they be watching that? Because is this going to put ideas into their head?
Yeah.
Because that's how little we knew.
Damn it, Sarah!
That's how little we both knew about transgender.
And that's how I met the two of you,
Yes.
was through that. And I remember very distinctly that day that you wouldn't even get on
No.
the camera with me.
No.
But I was like, that was, to me, you were there. So that's all that mattered to me. And then I found out later there was somebody else in the room that I didn't know, but that's okay.
And who was it?
Jen? No. Oh my God. I'm
It
going
was
to get
my
in
best friend, Lynn.
Lynn.
But
I was
Tony-
just testing you.
Man.
So, I've worked with families for 20 years, at least. And a lot of times, and I'm asking this question because a lot of times parents are not on the same journey and at the same speed when it comes to not just accepting, but affirming their kids. How was that for the two of you? As far as, were you at the same pace, or were you a little bit, because I know you and we do the show together and I know your story, that you really jumped in. You didn't just jump in for your son, but you jumped in for the whole community. And I can't imagine, and I'm just going to be, this is unscripted, so this just came to my head. I can't imagine going from do, here's our life, and we live in, wherever, and we're having a good time, and, we've been married for this long, to, oh my God, now my wife is focusing on so much that I'm not part of, and maybe not even emotionally connected to. So how was that for you? How was that?
It's still we are not. What you just said is absolutely perfect. We are very different. My only concern is Cameron and his benefit, welfare, whatever I need to do to take care of him. That is first, second, third, fourth. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
So I support what Sarah does, and we as a family have accepted, affirmed all that we can, but we are definitely not on the same level, right? As far as that and speed to get there.
Right. But if we can just go back a little bit, I think when we started this transition journey with Cameron, we were definitely on different speeds, Joe and I. But part of that is because this didn't come out of nowhere with Cameron. Cameron was, in psych wards, cutting himself. We were dealing with severely depressed, suicidal ideation, suicidal plans. We had so much that we were dealing with that when this came out, that this was the reality of what Cameron was going through, I just went full force into how to help Cameron, because this had been almost 3 years now, because when he was 12 is when he started an eating disorder. So once we knew what it was and I knew how to help, I just went full force with that. Whereas Joe needed time, correct?
Oh my God, yeah.
To really process. And I'll never forget. And I think we are at a point right now where we're able to talk about things about that journey and about that specific day that maybe at the time we wouldn't have said out loud. But I think it's important that people hear our story. But after Cameron said to me those words of "I'm in the wrong body," and I said that to Joe, Joe said to me, "You're breaking my heart."
Oh yeah.
And he cried.
Yeah.
And he needed time, a lot of time, to process all of what that meant. And I needed to just make sure that I took care of Cameron. It's not that he didn't want to, but Joe knew that I was going to do that. Joe knew I could do that.
And that's why my heart is like really filled right now, because the two of you, married for 26 years, have the ability to honor each other's space. Like that could have broken a marriage.
100%.
Okay. But the two of you and I've seen this through other things too, because I watched the two of you when you're together, because I think it's amazing. But you honored Joe, even though he was slow to come. So do you remember a time where you really, I mean, I know you were struggling, but what did you have this major shift one day that said, hey, listen, this is who my kid is. I'm going to affirm them and accept it. Like, did you have that? So some people say they have this, epiphany.
Yeah, no, there was none of that.
Yeah.
And it is still, and I don't want to jump too far ahead. I don't know where you guys are going with the whole story, but it was, there was no epiphany. There was no anything about it. And even till today, this is so foreign. I mean, if you had said, 10 years ago or when we first got married, if we were ever talking about, one day having a transgender child, I wouldn't even, I wouldn't even
meant.
what that meant.
Yeah.
And then if you explained it to me, I would say, are you out of your mind? Like it wasn't even like, that's not even a thing it was not a thing in my world. So, and even till today, I mean, we could talk about it very differently now. There were times I couldn't even discuss it. There are still times now where I don't even like scrolling back on my phone to see old photos. I just don't want that memory, which is very different from how Sarah feels. But I don't. That to me is something that was lost, and it's gone.
Right.
And we used to say it was like a death a death of a child, and I'm not trying to. I know people out there have lost their child, and that's horrible, but we had a child that we thought was going to go down this path and everything associated with that, and then just like that, over time it radically changed. So now this is our new reality.
But I want to say that it's not like you didn't use proper pronouns and use Cameron's chosen name. Because there's many parents and fathers and mothers that refuse to.
Right.
You did all that you needed to do for Cameron.
Right.
And I always say, for me, and I think this is probably the same for you, but you could tell me if I'm wrong, it's not the death of a child, it's the death of everything we thought.
The dreams.
Yes.
Right.
That child would be.
Right.
And those were all based upon what we thought, right? I've said that before. Those are our dreams and wishes, not Cameron's. But all the things of, we even went into a wedding dress shop.
Oh, I know.
A couple of years ago. And that
Really?
was really hard for me. I don't know why we went in there. Oh, they was doing some jewelry thing.
Yeah,
it was really hard. It was really hard for me. So there's times, and it has got so much easier now. I don't even really think about all of that stuff because we just look at Cameron as what is his future going to look like now, right? So we forget about pre-transition and what that person and child's future look like to what's Cameron's future going to look like now and who's he going to be with and what's he going to do and, because that's the reality of everything right now.
Yeah.
And there's so many times that trans people themselves and parents of trans kids will say, like they separate that before we knew and then after we knew that was somebody that doesn't exist anymore, which I always have to kind of like gently correct a little bit. But that young person, up until Cameron said I was born in the wrong body or I'm in the wrong body, is a part of his journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's a part of who he is. And so I look back on myself and I used to say she was the one that was strong. No, that was me. It was still me.
Yes.
It was just a different part of me, of my life. But I remember that the first year of Guilford Pride, you got up on stage.
Yeah.
I'll never forget this, Joe. I swear. I mean, I was just like, what? Because I knew you were struggling, but you got up on stage and you said, I have a transgender son. And I still brings tears to my eyes. That had to be powerful. It was powerful. Was it easy for you to do?
No.
Yeah.
No. And no, not even a little bit. It's again, it's even like I don't want to careful what I said, but
No, don't. It's unscripted.
It's still so foreign to me. Like when I sit down, there are times when I sit and I think about it, and I'm like, how is it? Did this actually happen?
Yeah.
Again, I can't believe that this is our reality, and it is, and we will move forward with it. I think the big thing is that I realized if I don't, when I saw how Nicholas and Matthew embraced it, it was help to me, and I realized that
Those are our other two sons.
yes, I'm sorry, there are the two sons, and they're the two older brothers, and I realized that if they get on board with this, and Sarah's on board with this, obviously Kim is going through this, then I'm the outside, and I will lose more than I already have. So it wasn't really an option for me, because family is important, and I want to make sure that I do everything as the father to provide for them and give them what they need. So that was a big help to see them so accepting of it. I mean, again, eventually they came around too, and I don't know exactly how they feel to this day, but we went away. We have a good time. It's the new norm now. I don't think about it every day like I used to. It's just this is our reality. So
Yeah.
And the boys, oh no, what I was going to say was that you and I did have our moments where I remember the first week, it was close to my birthday, and I remember saying to Joe, I can't deal with your stuff on top of everything else, and go get yourself help and deal with this however you could deal with it. And he did.
Mm-hmm.
And then at one time throughout probably that year, I think that first year was the hardest, I remember saying to him, you either get on board or you lose everything. He would have lost me, he would have lost Cameron, and he likely would have lost Matthew and Nicholas, because we were all where we needed to be at that time for Cameron. Joe from the outside was there, but was very much struggling on the inside.
Right.
It's
a big thing. Like, it is a huge, enormous thing to happen. It's not, I mean, it is enormous. I can't even begin to explain how it is. And if you haven't gone through it, there's no way you could possibly understand how hard it was to go through this whole process, and we still are. And then, again, with all that happened, more recent
health issues, yes.
But just this whole thing, we had no idea that was coming.
Yeah.
That this was still, dealing with everything that we were dealing with prior to.
Yeah. And you just said something really powerful. I don't know if you realize it.
I usually do.
But but you said if you haven't gone through it, you have no idea what it's like. And that's what I say to people when they can't understand, or they try to understand, how can somebody be trans? I can't get it through my head. I can't imagine somebody being born one way and then feeling another way. And I always say, well, don't set yourself up for failure. I don't know what it's like to be cisgender. I have no idea what it's like to be born in a body that matches my gender identity. But I certainly honor people who are cis, So a lot of times people will put that in their heads, like, how can that happen? How can that happen? I can't imagine it. So I'm going to have a hard time accepting it. So you were affirming So it's typically parents are accepting but not affirming right away. You were affirming because you were calling Cameron by the chosen name and pronoun.
Yeah.
But internal acceptance
No.
are you there now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, because he's such a good little kid. He's
amazing.
He's adult. No, I know.
I swear.
But he is. I mean, it is now. We're so far beyond all of that, and we have all these new things that we're dealing with that it doesn't really. It's like, again, this is our new normal. So
yeah, and that other stuff you're dealing with. Let me just say, like, I'm just like a friend of the family, and it rocked my world. I can't imagine what the two of you were going through when Cameron had, the brain bleed or whatever it was called. Did that shift you in any way?
That did. So in the hospital, when he was in the hospital, and with all the stuff and the gear and everything, and the gear, the tubes and it was awful. It was absolutely awful. And that's when I think I hate to say it, but I finally realized that this little kid is like really struggling. Little kid. I don't mean a kid. I know he's an adult.
He looked like it. And
Yeah,
this,
but
right?
he's like
pint size in this massive bed with all these
right.
things.
And hooked up and unconscious, and there was nothing. There was no there was very little communication, at least at the beginning. There was nothing, and then we got more, and I just realized how vulnerable he was and how much he needed us, to help him through this, and we had no idea what it was going to look like on the other side once he woke up, because he was out for a while, and then we had no idea what it was going to look like, and then when he did wake up, that was a whole, and they took the tube. It was like, that was absolutely awful, but that was, for me anyway, sadly, that it took that long for me to realize how important he was and how much he meant to me. So that for me, in that hospital bed on the side, that was a big one for me.
Yeah.
I remember one time a couple of years ago, maybe probably a year and a half ago or something, we were sitting out back in our old house and just talking, you and I. And you were like, yeah, Cameron's he's a funny kid. I like him.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, good, let's keep him.
I know.
Like, the more he got to know Cameron. And
yeah, because you had to get to know Cameron.
You did, because Cameron was very different from pre-transition.
Well, yeah.
Very different.
Yeah.
I'm talking, and I think the reason why, particularly the couple of years before Cameron fully came out to us, he was trying to be okay with being female.
Right.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Oh,
to you?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like trying
Yeah.
all these different things, and maybe I'll wear long nails, and maybe I'll dress a different way, and maybe I'll use makeup, and nothing felt right. So we were just seeing this whole journey that I thought was just the teenage journey and whatever. So all of that changed drastically to cutting the hair short, dark clothes, very heavy clothing, baggy clothing, piercings, all this, like, tattoos, right? All these things that we were like,
What are you doing?
who's this kid? And so some kids may not be different, but Cameron was. And so we got to know him.
Right. The hardest part for me, I think, and again, it's not like this now, but I was angry because I felt like Cameron took away my other, and I had a tough time
That's right, I forgot
keeping
that.
them as the same person. So, and I say anger, I don't really mean anger, but or mild anger that, you're here now, but you took away what I used to have. Wow.
Yeah,
I forgot.
and
I completely
that's
forgot that you had said that.
And
That's
anger, let me
huge.
tell you something. Anger is a fueled emotion. So you can't just be angry, right? So anger is caused by fear or sadness. And I think your anger, just by your story, came from deep, deep sadness.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah,
not
absolutely.
that you don't love your kid, but again, parents, they hold that baby and they're like, oh my God, this
Yeah.
is what I see for you. And
Yeah.
so wow.
And we also had the two boys and a girl. So
Yeah.
when we were having our third, everyone was like, oh my gosh, you think you're going to have a little girl? And we were like, I don't know. And I wanted a little girl more than anything. And I
Yeah.
think to Joe, he had two boys, so a little girl would be great. But it was also came a lot with, like, nerves, right? Of, well, I know what to do with two boys. I know what to do with
That's
boys.
easy.
But,
You
Yeah.
throw them around, but
and then we had a little girl who was the epitome of a little girl.
Oh my God.
Tiny little thing, and just nothing No, there was no signs at
Yeah.
all when Cameron was young, at all,
Yeah.
of what was to come.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So
But he is an amazing human.
he is.
And I know that he has a big influence on a lot of younger kids.
Yeah.
And now he's trying to help pave an easier path for others. I mean, what's your thoughts on all of that? What's your thoughts on Alex Inc. and Guilford Pride and all this media stuff that they were doing? And,
Look, I'm a very private person. I'm not out there. I'm not a cheerleader. Listen, Sarah can do whatever she wants. Obviously, that's fine.
We know.
Yeah, we know. But and listen, I went to the Pride event and that was wonderful. And people there, it's a great event. Everything is wonderful. And whatever Sarah needs for Alex, yeah, we support it. But
the best bartender ever. But
yeah,
Oh, that's right.
all the events like that. But I do wish that if Cameron had to be the way he is, and I couldn't change that, then the one thing I would change is that all this other stuff would just be,
yeah.
because it's a lot. It's just a lot. But again, that's from somebody who's like, I'm not on any social media. I'm not political. Like I don't do any of that. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
So really what happened was your world was rocked twice at the same time. You had a kid that was transitioning, and then all of a sudden your norm of, hey, what do you want to have for dinner was, hey, you know what, I have an event I got to go to tonight, and I'm
Right.
starting an organization, and I'm starting a Pride.
It's a lot.
So a lot. It
It's
was a lot at
It's
once.
And Sarah doesn't
Yeah.
just do anything; she does everything.
No, I know,
and it's
yeah.
like, and then it's just okay. Okay. So anyway, that would be the one thing that I would say. That said, I mean, everything will run its course, and whatever happens. We'll be there. We'll figure it all out. But
Well, you're very supportive. You're at every event.
yeah. I
You
mean,
you help out at Guilford Pride. You're
Yeah.
there, and
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, this, you're hearing some of the things that he deals with internally.
Yeah.
But
Right.
from the outside, Joe's been there from the beginning
Oh,
of supporting of everything that Cameron needed along the way. He
Yeah.
never stopped it. Never.
So what do you do, the two of you? Because a lots have changed in the marriage. Especially that you're involved in a lot of stuff. Do you find time to hang out and do things together?
We play pickleball.
Oh, that's right, pickleball.
But I don't like to play with him because he's very, very competitive.
Is he very aggressive?
And
He looks
he's
like an
very good.
aggressive
Yeah, he could be a little
pickleball
aggressive.
player.
We like, this is silly. This is probably silly, but we like a lot of the same TV shows.
oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we watch.
Name
and
one. Name one.
Well,
And
what
it
do
can't
we
be the
watch?
Waltons because that's mine.
Oh my gosh, the
Okay.
Waltons.
You didn't watch
You
that.
didn't listen to that
Oh,
episode.
you didn't
I
listen to
guess
that
not.
episode.
No, sorry.
No, what are we watching?
Your Friends
right
and
now? Your Friends
Neighbors.
and Neighbors we're watching right now.
I mean,
We also
anything on
watched the entire season of Downton Abbey, 3, 4.
Really?
Oh, I watched it, and then I got him into watching it,
Yeah.
and he loved it. Like he'd call up and he'd be like, "Oh my god, I can't wait to watch Downton
I
Abbey
can't wait to
tonight."
get home, and it was just
So
that was one of the greatest.
Tony, we
things.
live a very simple life.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do live a simple life.
Yeah.
We find enjoyment in just being with the family,
Yeah.
our family.
You're very family.
Yes,
I love
very
that.
family
I love
oriented.
that. Yeah.
And then we just watch TV together. We'll go to movies. We're trying to read, but he's not doing a good job of it. So I am.
I already returned the book.
You already returned the book.
I don't understand it. I can't.
What book? We can.
No,
put-
you
Doesn't
just
matter.
can't read.
I just.
Yeah, I hate reading
can
too.
read.
Listen, I wrote
You can
3
read.
books.
I don't
I hate reading.
like- yeah.
I hate reading.
I don't.
His mind, I think, goes in 1,000 different places. He can't.
Our oldest
yeah.
said it perfectly. I feel like I should read because people do it. It's probably good for you. Less time on your device and all
Yeah.
this. And I hate every minute of it. I find myself just flicking forward to see how many more pages to the end of the chapter so I can
Oh
be
my
done.
God, I do the same
Like I hate it.
thing.
I hate
Well, that
it.
means you haven't found a book that you like.
No,
That's
bullshit.
baloney.
Oh,
That's
sorry. I'll be like
rubbish.
Joe. That's baloney.
Rubbish.
I we made this deal that I said, okay, Joe, I need to stop being on my phone before I go to bed because I think it was affecting my sleep. So I said, let's start reading before we go to bed. He was like, okay. So he got a book off Amazon, and then I was already reading a book. So I get into bed at like 9:15, and I'll read. And I'm like, where's Joe? Because no social media in bed before. So he's sitting out on the couch as long as possible so he could be on social
And I
media.
keep looking at the bedroom, seeing that light on. I'm like, she's still freaking up. Come to
He's
bed.
like scrolling TikTok and
Go to
whatever. I was
bed.
like, Joe.
That's
Otherwise,
so
he would have
funny.
been in.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So
Anyway.
I'm not a reader.
We just
I'm
listen. We have there are there are very few families that have been through what we have been through. I don't think I ever talked about, and I won't talk about it now, but like things that Nicholas went through when he was born. He was born with his organs outside of his body. We
Oh my
almost lost
God.
him as a baby. We almost lost Matthew a few years ago in a
Horrible
horrible
car
car accident. And we almost lost Cameron, not even a year ago. And then on top of that, one of the children transitioning. And then so
then the AVM and then everything associated with that. It's like
seizure,
enough.
you know,
I mean,
it's a
seizures
lot.
now. It's just
It's a lot. It's
the
a
hits
lot.
keep coming.
They do. But I remember looking at Joe, particularly when Cameron was in the hospital, and we would look at each other for weeks after this happened to Cameron. We would say, "What the fuck happened?"
Right.
Like we couldn't. Like this really happened, and I know
Yeah.
we have to finish soon. But I remember Joe felt like this. This very much is our relationship. Like I've always taken front with the children.
Yeah.
And I did so with Cameron, with everything that Cameron had. And I did so with Cameron recently. And Joe was like, I don't know what to do.
Right.
And so what he did was he would take care of me. So when I was sleeping in the hospital all the time and I'd come home, he'd have things ready for me. He'd have
I was
a
taking
little,
care of the caretaker.
That's what I said to him.
That's-
And so
that's
one
so
day,
good.
that's exactly what I said to him. I'm like, I know what you
That
do.
is amazing.
And he goes, what? I said, you take care of the caretaker. And that's
Yeah.
how we did it. And that's how we got through it.
Yeah.
And
Teamwork.
yeah. And so, so we've been through a lot. We're still here together 26 years later. We still have lots of laughs together. We still have a lot to go through with all of our children. And that's what you sign up for when you
Yeah.
become parents.
Yeah.
Listen, I love the two of you. I just wish if I ever meet somebody that I have a relationship like the two of you do. Because
thank you.
really, like, you really stand beside each other, even in really, I mean, all three kids, you almost lost. I mean,
Yeah.
that's another episode,
Yeah.
right? But Joe, thank you for being on the
Welcome.
show. I
Thank
hope
you
we
for having
didn't,
me.
kill you too much here.
No,
You
you
were
did well.
you were
We're
good.
good.
You
We're
were
good.
good.
We're good.
Listen, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.